On one specific day every month, the average American burns through 25% more money than every other day of the month. Not Black Friday, not their birthday, payday. And the wild part? More than half the population does it, across every income level, every age group, every country where researchers have looked. A Columbia Business School study tracked 5 years of electronic transaction data and found the same thing every single time. The day the paycheck hits, spending spikes, immediately, automatically, predictably. You think you're celebrating, you think you deserve it. But what's actually happening in your brain and to your bank account over a lifetime is something most people never sit down and calculate. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's start with the number. 25% more spending on payday. That's the floor. That's the median. The Columbia study, published research by Professors Michaela Pagel and Arna Vardardóttir, based on 5 years of Icelandic transaction data, found that more than half the population exceeds that threshold. Meanwhile, InMarket's 2024 Payday Insights report, which tracked real consumer spending from April 2023 through April 2024, found that consumer spending spikes by 33% on payday and stays elevated for a full day afterward before returning to baseline. Now let's make that concrete. Say you make $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month, paid on the first. On a normal day, you might spend $80 to $100. Groceries, coffee, gas, subscriptions ticking away in the background. But on payday, using the 25% figure from the Columbia research, your spending pattern shifts. You're 11% more likely to make any shopping trip at all on payday. And when you do go shopping, you spend significantly more per transaction. The InMarket report is specific about where the money goes. On payday, restaurants see a 25.6% jump in spending. Grocery stores spike 16.8%. But after those basics are handled, the discretionary splurges kick in. Bookstores see a 230% increase in spending on and around payday. Cruises jump 55%. Auto purchases up 54%. Beauty products up 51%. That 230% on bookstores alone should stop you in your tracks. That's not necessity. That's not catching up on bills. That's the I got paid and now I feel rich effect in action. Here's the annual math nobody sits down to calculate. If payday overspending costs you an extra $100 twice a month, and given that the average American spends $282 a month on unplanned impulse purchases, that's a conservative estimate. That's $2,400 a year. In lifestyle spending that wasn't planned, that didn't appear in any budget, that just evaporated. $2,400 a year for 30 years. That's $72,000 in just the dollars you spent before we even touch what that money could have grown into. We'll come back to that number, and it gets much worse. Here's the thing that makes this genuinely strange. The money wasn't a surprise. You knew the paycheck was coming. The date was on your calendar. Your direct deposit hit at the exact same time it always does. Standard economic theory says this shouldn't change anything about your spending behavior. According to the models, rational people smooth their consumption across time. You should be spending roughly the same amount every day, since you already knew the money was going to arrive. But that's not what happens. Not even close. Professor Pagel put it plainly. Payday spending is a completely understandable behavior from a common sense standpoint, but it doesn't make sense according to the economic models, which say people optimize their budgets across time. So theoretically, you shouldn't see people consuming more just because they have more money one day, yet it happens. What is actually happening is a cluster of 3 psychological mechanisms firing simultaneously, and they're designed to work against you. Mechanism 1, the license to spend. When money hits your account, your brain frames it as permission, not just, I have more money now, but I've earned this, and today is the day I get to enjoy it. Researchers call this the license effect. It's the same phenomenon that makes people eat more calories after the gym. You did the hard part, so the reward feels justified. The paycheck is the proof of work. The spending is the reward. The logic feels bulletproof in the moment. Mechanism 2, present bias. The Science Direct study published in November 2024 on the payday consumption cycle found that the spending surge around payday appears almost exclusively among people with strong present bias, a tendency to overweight immediate gratification versus future benefit. Here's what present bias does in practice. It makes the $100 restaurant meal feel real and satisfying right now, while the $100 invested and compounded for 30 years, which could be worth $1,744 at a 10% average market return, feels abstract and distant. Your brain isn't broken. It's just optimized for a world where the future was uncertain, and today's food was today's survival. Mechanism 3. Mental accounting. Your brain doesn't treat money as one big pool. It assigns money to mental buckets. When the paycheck lands, your brain creates a new full bucket labeled available to spend. The fact that rent is due in 2 weeks, or that you already plan to put $300 into savings, those are different, separate buckets. The fresh paycheck bucket feels separate, abundant, and spendable. This is why people with high incomes do this too. It's not a poverty trap. The Columbia study found the behavior across every income level. It's a brain trap, and it's extremely well engineered. Here's the part that should bother you. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and payday overspending is one of the primary reasons. Not income. Spending behavior. The median household income in America is $80,610. There is no income level where the payday effect doesn't show up. Let's run an actual side-by-side comparison here, because the real cost of the payday effect isn't just the money you spent, it's the money you didn't invest, and what that money would have become. Here's the comparison table, and we're going to work through every line. Scenario A, payday brain, how most people operate. Gets paid $5,000 on the first pucks, spends an extra $150 in unplanned discretionary purchases on payday weekend. Repeat that pattern twice a month. Bi-weekly paycheck people, this is you too. That's $300 a month in payday effect spending. Annual total, $3,600 in unplanned spending. Goes nowhere, earns nothing, compounds into exactly zero. Scenario B, non-payday brain, the automated alternative, gets paid the same $5,000 on the first dollars. On the exact same day the paycheck lands, $300 automatically routes to a low-cost index fund. Done before they even open their banking app. They live on what's left. Monthly investment, $300. Now here's the math. $300 a month, invested consistently, at the stock market's historical average annual return, which is approximately 10% over long periods, for 30 years. Final balance, $678,146. $300 times 12 months times 30 years, compounding at 10% annually. Standard compound interest calculation, verified via compound interest calculators at investor.gov and Ramsey Solutions. Payday brain 30-year result, roughly $72,000 spent over those same 30 years, plus 44% of buyers report post-purchase regret. Zero investment growth, zero compounding. Non-payday brain, 30-year result, $678,146. The difference between those two outcomes isn't intelligence. It isn't income. It isn't discipline in the painful, white-knuckled sense of the word. It's one automated transfer, set up once, on payday, before you ever see the money sitting in your checking account looking like permission to spend. That's the comparison. $72,000 in meals, clothing, and things you mostly can't remember, versus $678,000 in your account at retirement. And if you're wondering whether the $678,000 number is real, the TransUnion compound interest calculator shows that someone who saves $200 a month starting at 25 at a 6% annual return reaches $372,000 by 65. At $300 a month with a 10% average return, the math is worse for them and better for you. There's a reason you get promotional emails on the 1st and the 15th. There's a reason some retailers run payday sales. There's a reason fast food restaurants are absolutely packed the day after payday. Retailers study this data obsessively. They know when your payday is, not just statistically, not just as an industry average, but increasingly at the individual level. Streaming platforms time their upgrade prompts. Fashion apps push "your items are still in your cart" notifications. Food delivery apps surface their premium subscription offers. The 2024 In-Market Payday Insights Report exists specifically because the marketing industry commissions this research to figure out how to intercept you on the exact day your wallet feels fullest. They know that bookstore spending goes up 230% on payday. They know restaurant spending spikes 25.6%. They know beauty product spending jumps 51%. They didn't discover this by accident. They've built entire promotional calendars around your payday psychology. The Psychology Today breakdown of the payday effect from Dr. Oleg Erminsky goes one step further. Mortality rates are actually slightly higher just after income receipts. Not because of anything dramatic, but because consumption behavior itself increases risk. People drive more, drink more, leave the house more. You are, quite literally, not thinking as clearly on payday as you are on a random Tuesday in the third week of the month. The question is, what do you want to do with that information? Here's the twist that most people miss. The payday effect doesn't just spike spending on payday. It creates a deficit 3 to 4 weeks later. The Science Direct 2024 study found that a surge in payday spending predicts a measurable decrease in consumption 3 and 4 weeks afterward. The binge creates the squeeze. The squeeze creates the anxiety. The anxiety makes you desperate for the next payday, and the cycle repeats. There is no discipline-based fix for a psychology-based problem. Telling yourself to be more careful on payday is like telling yourself not to be hungry at 7 p.m. The hunger doesn't care about your resolve, and the license to spend effect doesn't care about your budget spreadsheet. So the fix has to be structural. It has to happen before the feeling kicks in. Here are 3 levers, in order of impact. Lever 1. Automate an investment on the same day as your direct deposit. Not the day after, the same day. The moment the paycheck lands, an automated transfer should move money out of your checking account and into an investment or savings vehicle, your 401k contribution, a Roth IRA, an index fund brokerage account, an emergency fund. The money that isn't in your checking account cannot trigger the license to spend response. You cannot see it. You cannot feel rich about it. You cannot spend it. Smart Asset confirms that consistent $200 a month investing can grow to more than $150,000 in 20 years, and more than $1.2 million after 40 years, at a 10% average return 40. Set up the automation once. That's it. That's the whole intervention. Lever 2. Delay any discretionary purchase made on or immediately after payday by 48 hours. This is the 48-hour rule. Not don't buy it, just don't buy it today. Put it in the cart, screenshot it, send yourself an email, then wait 48 hours. The payday glow fades fast. The in-market data shows spending returns to baseline after just 1 day. If you still want it on day 3, it probably wasn't an impulse. If you've forgotten about it, you just saved yourself money you didn't need to spend. Reminder, 44% of impulse buyers report post-purchase regret. You can front-run that regret for free with 2 days of waiting. Lever 3. Make your payday feel less like an event. Part of what fuels the license to spend response is the emotional significance your brain gives to payday. The calendar marker. The "I made it through another month" feeling. Reframing payday as just another Tuesday, a logistical event, not a celebration, is harder but powerful. Some people do this by setting their paycheck to auto-route so completely that their checking account barely changes on payday. The psychological impact of a $5,000 lump sum appearing in your account is real. The psychological impact of automated buckets that you never had to interact with manually, much smaller. One more number before the close. The Slick Deals annual survey found that in 2022, the average American spent $314 a month on impulse purchases, $3,768 a year. In 2023, during inflation anxiety, that dropped to $151. In 2024, it bounced back to $282. The interesting thing isn't the volatility. It's that spending almost doubled back the moment people felt economically safe again. The behavior is pressure sensitive, not fixed. Meaning, with the right structure, you can suppress it permanently, not just when inflation scares you into it. Back to where we started. 25% more spending, every payday, every month, for most of your working life. Here's the final number. The gap between payday brain and the one automation fix, over 30 years, is $678,146. That's not a hypothetical. That's compound interest, doing what compound interest does. Applied to money you were already spending on things you mostly don't remember. The choice isn't between spending and not spending. It's between spending first and investing the leftovers, or investing first and spending what's left. One of those has a $678,000 outcome. The other one has regret and a 4-1 odds of living paycheck to paycheck. If this broke down something you'd never seen calculated before, subscribe. That's what this channel does every week. Next video. The reason your savings account is actually losing you money, even when the balance goes up. That one might sting more than this one.